Welcome back, cosplayers, to another Tip Tuesday. I'm going to change the name. And this week's material, or what we're going to be talking about, is cutting and drilling acrylic or plexiglass, or there's actually quite a few things that fall under clear, transparent plastic, and actually plexiglass has colors and there's lots of things I can't go into because I've only got 15 minutes. If you have specific questions, I'll address those in later videos, but for right now we're just going to talk about drilling and cutting acrylic because that's kind of an issue. Okay, acrylic is kind of one of the harder materials to work with because it's kind of fragile. It's good for some really cool, pretty things, but you have to be careful with it. Now, unless you have a laser cutter, this is for you, the average cosplayer, as to advice for things you should be doing or things that have worked for me in the past at home. Here we have some, I believe, 2mm acrylic, and I call everything usually by its industry name. Like, I know it's a plexiglass, but plexiglass is a brand name. I won't go into it, okay? Acrylic. Alright, so if you have not heard my rant, this is specifically the hand tool that I use. It's a Japanese pool saw, dovetail saw. Look specifically for this exact one. I don't think there's any other ones quite like it. There is a pool saw that's big and bulky and not as good, but yes, don't worry about it. This is what you're looking for. I might put a link in the description as to blah blah blah. But other pool saws tend to be jerky, tend to have a huge profile on the blade, which due to acrylic's fragile nature leads to more stress and more cracking such as this, and that's definitely not what we're trying to do when we're working with acrylic. In fact, acrylic is one of the few times when I would advocate the use of power tools over hand tools. I'm a fan of the hand tools because I like to control, but in this case, power tools is the way to go because it's a little safer, it's a little even more controlled pressure, I should say. So the problem with, if I could scoot this out of the way, I'm not turning this on. This is a saw. This is what I work with to cut it out. It works the best out of all the tools I have. There are some drawbacks. You want to make sure you go steadily and slowly. You might be tempted to go very quickly. The problem with that is if you go too quickly, it heats up the plastic and melts it rather than cuts it. You want it to cut it, not to melt it, because if you melt it, once the blade passes through, the plastic will re-solidify back together, and then you'll have to make another pass, and it'll be messier. It'll be a much messier cut. So take your time, don't let the blade heat up, and cut your plastic. Preferably if you have access to a bandsaw, that is the tool I found works the best. If I had a little home bandsaw, absolutely acrylic all the way. Alright. But for those of you who do not have hundreds of dollars to spend on power tools, this is a $15 tool, and it's kind of the way to go. You can't get absolutely every shape in the world, but hopefully with some hand tools and some files and some patience, you can get the job done. This is actually like super old. I prefer them when they're brand new. They get the most effective use when they're brand new because they're sharp and wonderful and not covered with gunk. Alright, and I'm going to cut just like a little corner off of this. Maybe a big corner. And it's not, as far as working with acrylic, it's not very hard. Working with acrylic with a big pool saw, it kind of sucks. And what we don't want to happen is, boom, that just ruins your work and you have to start all over again. That sucks. Now, of course, with thicker acrylic, when you get past, say, 4 or 5 millimeters, it gets more expensive, and you definitely want to invest in a tool at that point. This only really works up to like 4 millimeters. After that, it gets to be very difficult to use a hand tool. I would highly suggest moving on to a power tool. However, this is, what is this? This is, I believe, 1/2 millimeter. Yes, it's 1/2 millimeter, and this can actually be cut with scissors, and I'm just going to cut this in half, and bam, there we go. And you can imagine anything you can do with scissors, you can do with this. Additionally, a hot knife also works with this. You have to be patient and you have to clean up the edges, because what's going to happen is it's going to have burrs, and the melted chunks are going to collect where you make turns and such. So there we are, cutting acrylic. Just the basics there. There's a ton more I could go into, but I only got 15 minutes, as I said earlier, so I'm sure I get a lot of comments of like, you're not doing it right. Well, I don't know, there's many ways to do stuff. Sanding, again, you can do it by hand with a file, but power tools, your belt sanders are really nice for this. I can't drag my belt sander, it's huge, it's out on the porch. But yeah, I use power tools when we're working with acrylic if I have the opportunity. Yeah, and some of this is, as you can see, this is a semi-transparent. I painted over it and added some effects and stuff. We got some 2mm here with some 1/2mm as a detail, and then we got some other paint work stuff. And in the next video, I'm going to go into some caulks and things that you might find interesting as far as working with acrylic, because yeah, caulks, they tend to work with acrylic, like somehow they're made to work with windows, or it's the craziest thing. So if you're interested, I'm going to tie that in a second for drilling and mounting acrylic. Let me move that helmet to a safe location lest I just completely jack it up. Now, drilling and mount. Oh, this is also my disc. This works kind of okay, but it's a pain in the butt. It'll get the job done. It just takes forever. This is kind of a big machine, so working it around is also difficult. Now, this, if you guys don't remember, is my Yankee press drill. This is my favorite tool. This is my great-grandfather's tool passed down to me. I will not use this on acrylic because it just puts too much pressure on a point and very, very easily leads to cracking. Especially when I'm working on the ground. Maybe if you're working on a workbench, you have a stable, uniform surface, it's a little easier, but the way I work, this is a huge hazard when working acrylic, and I must put it away in lieu of the rotary tool, Dremel. Now, unfortunately, I didn't check the bit, so I'm going to turn it on. Ooh boy, that is loud. I'm going to just kind of pretend drill a hole, which I can easily do here. 1 second while I get really loud. So there you go, you get a little insight as to kind of the gunk that builds up on the edges here, and then of course you can then remove the surface plastic. Now, if you could use a bit of imagination with me here, Cosplay World, pretend that's a drill hole. Now caulks, as I caveat back to the this stuff here, that's kind of the old-fashioned mounting your windows kind of scenario. These are kind of the glues that work really well. There's also super glues, but they tend to discolor it, or they're special glues and stuff. But I like these because they provide not only a good amount of adhesion, but they provide bounce, shock resistance, which is a huge issue when you're walking around a con. You don't want to put the edge of your sword down or whatever it is on the ground and the shock to travel through it and cause a crack somewhere along there. That's not preferable. So when I'm mounting, I like to put a little bit of caulk to give it some bounce between it and whatever is holding in place. A lot of times I like to sandwich the acrylic between two pieces of MDF or some supporting material that's more rigid and can take that sort of damage. Yes, I also use screws because screws are good too. There is, however, an issue with screws. You don't want them to put pressure on the acrylic as well. The thing to do in, say, wood is to make the hole just barely big enough for the threads to squeak through. In acrylic's case, I prefer the threads to not touch the acrylic at all, because if you make the hole too small, it puts pressure on the plastic and it cracks. Just in the same way, say, ice expands and will tear up concrete and such. And that's not great for our uses. So when I'm drilling a hole, I make the hole bigger, and then I mount the screw through to make sure that the piece does not go anywhere, and then fill that gap in with some caulk to give it kind of a buffer between the screw and the acrylic. And I also, because dissipating shocks is important, I put a washer on the head of the screw just to make that area a little bigger and to dissipate the force and make that a little less risky. You can use rubber or plastic washers. Those are a little better. I don't have any on me at the moment, sorry, but I'm sure if you understand the basic idea of dissipating force, you understand how these work and why they do so. Whew. Oh well, I believe those are the basics of cutting and mounting acrylic. I don't want to keep you too long. If you want more details, I can make additional videos. I'm going to go into various kinds of caulk in relation in the next video. Keep your eye out. Thanks for watching, guys. Good times to all. Hey, before I finish up this video, I want to say thanks for everyone who likes and subscribes. But the people who comment, you guys have a special place in my heart. It really does keep me motivated. I don't know, I do try to talk to you one-on-one, but maybe someday I'll have enough questions and so on to do like a regular Monday Q&A session like I used to. But for now, I just try and spread the information and love I have for all you cosplayers out there. I don't know if you know someone who needs help, if you see someone who could use a heads up and maybe is new to the cosplay community, maybe hasn't seen some of these kind of informational videos, let them know. It really helps me out. I'm gonna go make more vids, have some fun, make some stuff, do cosplay things. Thanks for watching, guys. Good times to all.